So how did you get the inspiration for Ask the Cheat? How did it all start?
Um, Basically, I originally had an idea for a documentary about um, kids with dyscalculia and dyslexia, and I felt that a lot of children were going through their life, through school, not really confessing to what their issues were. They had this disadvantage. It's not their fault if they suffered from dyslexia or dyscalculia, but they were kind of worried about getting picked upon or bullied in school. So a lot of kids sort of go through life and not tell anyone, neither their parents nor their teachers. And I wanted to do this documentary about that issue. And then I also wanted to do a documentary about women who got a raw deal when they separated or divorced from their husbands. The court system kind of is supposed to give equal rights to both parties, but generally if the husband was clever enough to hide the money, squirrel away money into offshore bank accounts, then the woman would end up getting 50% off a low amount, or 50% off zero, which is zero. So that was another documentary idea that I had, but it's difficult to get financing for documentaries. It's very difficult, especially dealing with those sort of kind of issues that were very close to my heart, but maybe others didn't feel the same way about them. So and then I thought, well, maybe the thing to do is to combine those two ideas into a narrative feature film. And that's how Ask the Cheat came about. I thought, what if a kid who had dyscalculia cheated in his maths exam, and the teacher, who was going through a divorce at the same time, discovered this, but kind of made a deal with the kid to help her kidnap her husband, who was leaving her for a younger woman, to ask him face to face why, after 18 years, had he decided to run away with this younger woman, and where had he hidden the money that she was entitled to but wasn't going to get. So the film is about empowerment, how people with disadvantages and who perhaps don't get a good deal from society empower each other and help each other to try and readdress that imbalance. And that's how this came about. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, I mean, in terms of script development and pre-production, did you have a specific idea in mind and you just wrote the script, or did it go through various stages and you had to improvise it?
Well, funnily enough, it actually started as a thriller, and the whole opening scene, and even the scene in the basement, were veering towards being a very sort of suspense-filled, serious film. Yeah. But then when I got into the basement, the writing sort of took off on a different trajectory, and it started becoming comedy. And I tried reining it back. I said, no, you've got to remain, and you've got to stay as a serious suspense-filled thriller, as most kidnap films are. But it wouldn't. It just wouldn't. It was a beast of, and it just headed towards comedy, which isn't a bad thing, because you can use humour to kind of get your message across, and I think it comes across really well in the film.
Yeah, I think this is where I started as well with the project, in the pre-production and script development. And the first time I read the script, I was quite fascinated, and every other bit of dialogue made me laugh, and I could, even though I wasn't aware of the issues such as dyscalculia, I could just relate to the film. I could just see that things like this would exist and would happen in real life, and I understood the importance of the message coming across as well, and especially at this time and age when children, we've got lots of expectation with our children, and we don't often realise that not every child has the same potential or ability, in the way that we expect. So I think topics like that are quite relevant and current at the same time. So I mean, let's talk about the production side of Ask the Cheat now. How would you like to sum it all up?
Well, all films have problems that you never expect, and you've almost got to expect the unexpected. But one of the interesting things with this particular film was that we also took on several disadvantaged people as part of the crew. I had to make it difficult for myself, and we won't mention names, but there were some people who were disadvantaged and had learning difficulties, and they worked on the film. We did have its own challenges, but the strength of a good production team is that you ride those difficulties and you overcome the challenges, and you try and strive for that ultimate goal, which is to present the best film that you can possibly produce. And I think we had problems from day one where we had cables missing, we had water that wasn't there for the catering team, but all those problems and then the biggest thing was having to move studios because of
yes, we
noise.
had to move the studios because another production actually.
That's right.
Another production was happening pretty much next to us, and they're making a lot of noise, so we couldn't go for any sound takes, so we had to reshoot everything in a different studio. I think that was one of the biggest problems that we had, and after that, because everything got delayed, we had to just sort of continue solving problems, but make sure we stick to the schedule. And we have, especially if you have crew that are first working on a feature film for the first time, that can be very, very challenging. Because first thing is that this is their first experience. Second of all, they've never been told that you'll come across problems like that on a film set. Yeah, I think it was a very big challenge, but we came together and we pulled that well.
I think it's important though to have newcomers to the industry, to the film industry, working alongside established professionals, so that they can help them, train them, nurture them to progress up the ladder. Because otherwise, how are graduates who have left media school, how are they going to work and get to hands-on experience in the industry if we don't do that? And a lot of productions, they're scared of bringing in newcomers because they feel they're going to be a nightmare to work with, and they are.
Yeah.
But you have to be strong enough to be able to handle that.
Yes, because they're appreciate that they're the future of the industry, so they need to be educated accordingly, and they should be familiar with all the industry standards, because they're the future. And if we don't recognize that at this stage, then 10, 15 or 20 years down the line, when we need all those newcomers, it's going to be quite difficult for the industry. So yes, equally important, but at the same time, if you were to do Ask the Cheat again, what would you do differently?
To be honest with you, I'm quite sure that maybe, like most films, I think you do need more prep time. I think the more you organise, the more you prepare, things will run smoother on set. And I think you can't have enough prep time. We could have prepped for it for a year, and we still would have had problems on set. Some other thing would have reared its head. So, but I think I would have liked to have had more prep time and maybe rehearsed more with the actors, and maybe worked out some different shots. But to be honest, ultimately, I'm very happy with the end result, and it's a miracle that we've got it made. The edit took longer than I expected. Again, because the editor's first feature film, and so there was a lot of communication backwards and forwards, and trying to get everything right for them as well. But I think the fact that we've got it in the Cannes Film Festival now, and it's having a market screening there, is a massive achievement. And it's taken a year, so to knock out a film that gets into Cannes within a year is a good achievement for this particular region, because we've got a shortage of films anyway. But tell me, what did you, as a kind of person who was doing the behind the scenes footage, what did you observe? Where do you think things were weak and we can improve on next time, perhaps?
To be honest, looking at the script is one of the easiest script to shoot. So it's not filming the actual script or the storyline. I think the problems existed, or they kind of grew and grew, is when people don't use their own initiatives and rely on others to give them instructions or guidelines or commands to what to do, and they would just wait for that and not act upon, because you need to sort of, on a film shoot, you need to be very fast paced, and you need to take ownership and responsibilities of the task that you've been given. So I think that's when it was weak. It had to be a team effort, and I could see a few people putting a lot more effort than some others. So it had to be balanced in terms of input. I think but overall, I think some people were really good. They performed beyond their potential. They did use their own initiatives. Especially, I'd say to yourself as well. You had so much on, but you kept focus, and you were really calm. Problem solving, so you solved all the problems that we had. But some people, if they've got a problem, they can't think of a solution, but they'll overthink of the problem, and they'll stress themselves. So I think if you think of the solution and forget what's happened, you just need to move on and come with a resolution all together as a team. I think that's when things start to strengthen on a film set, and that's how you get a good quality project at the end. It's a team effort, and staying behind the camera could just it was my feature film, so it was a different experience for me. Like, I've not done a behind the scenes feature documentary before. I have come from a documentary background, but this was completely different. This was shooting moments as they go along, and if you miss something, you can't tell the producers, or can you say that again, or can you direct someone again. You just had to be on your toes all the time and have to be alert, at the same time not being right in the middle of a scene or action, because people will not behave naturally. So yes, I think team effort is where things were a little bit shaky, but other than that, I think we all had the potential, and we did pick the right people. Some people might have got diverted towards the end, but yeah, I think actors did an amazing job too.
Yeah, I'm very proud of everybody, and that the fact that we all sort of worked together and we got it ultimately in the can and then edited and out there now. Like you said, there were instances where you have to just deal with things. Like I remember the instance with the assistant producer telling one of the actors, because he was an Indian, to wear Indian clothes without consulting myself. Yeah. And then the actor turned up in Indian clothes when he's a GP, he's a doctor. Why is he wearing Indian clothes? So I had to go off set and find him a suit.
Yeah. And this is in behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we filmed that in the behind the scenes.
And then the problem got worse, because then he was being held. Well, we got delayed. The scene got delayed. The actor who came from London got delayed because of that. And then because he was in a rush to get back to Birmingham, took the radio mics that were on him. He took them with him. And then when he took off his shirt, when he got back home, obviously was tired at 4 a.m. or something, he damaged one of the mics by accident. So, and then we have to resolve that problem. So how do we do the rest of the shoot?
So one problem can lead to another problem, and that can lead to another problem. So I think it's just a matter of solving problems till till the day you
Yes.
wrap.
Yeah, and the important thing is that to fix, and especially for the newcomers and the youngsters, is to, like you said, focus on the ultimate goal and try and get there, despite all these things being thrown at you that are going to disrupt you, and you know, you've got to try and just get there and not lose. Although, you know, inside sometimes I was like boiling and really wanted to.
Yeah, you have to stay calm, because
You have to stay
you have
calm.
to be considerate of others, and especially, you know, you stayed calm, but just could imagine if you didn't, you know, it would have been a different
Yeah.
environment and be
No.
much harder to work.
Yeah, you have to, and even though you think, oh, you know, the ship's sinking, you just, as the captain, you've got to make sure that you plug the holes and you get it back afloat and move on, you know.
But I think there were people that didn't even need motivation or any instruction; they just got on with it, and that will reflect highly in Behind the Seals film. But overall, I think we're quite happy and proud of what we have, considering the amount of tensions that went through at the time. So, but why? So tell us, why would you like people to watch Ask the Tree? What has it got to offer?
Well, it's got things to offer on many levels. Not only is it just a sort of fun ride, but people should be able to relate to it. You know, they've all got friends, family who have maybe some sort of special needs or disadvantage. But I think we all have weaknesses, and then sometimes we can't overcome an issue ourselves, and maybe I think the message is to look around and see who is around you who has some strengths that you can harness and help you overcome these issues, and that's what happens in the films. They both have problems, the young lad and the teacher, and by joining forces they're able to overcome those problems.
Okay, brilliant.